Hello and welcome to another amazing episode of Wealthish Talks, where we dive into all things related to business, marketing, and wealth building strategies. I'm your host, Rickdrika Bennett, and today I am thrilled to have a remarkable guest on the show, Camille Diaz. Camille, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Rikika. This is awesome. I always enjoy chatting with you and hanging out at all your events. And so I can't wait for us to do this. This is super cool.
Thank you. So, Camille, your bio is a testament to your diverse roles as a coach, a financial professional, a connector, podcaster, author, and speaker. Can you share a bit about your journey and what kind of inspired you to pursue such a multifaceted career?
Yeah. My journey is, I describe it like the corn maze created by the drunken farmer. Nobody had a plan, it looks like, when it was getting made. I went from my very first job was as a groundskeeper. I tried really hard not to be a teacher because there were so many teachers in my family. I was like, no, I'm a rebel. I'm gonna do something else. And that was nonsense. I needed to just follow my calling and start teaching something because that's what I'm really great at. So most of the stuff that I do involves some way of guiding, coaching, teaching, all of that kind of thing. So even though it seems really diverse, it actually all narrows down to how can I help other people get to where they want to go.
Okay. Yeah, I know with talking with you, I see that you love to empower people with
Yeah.
knowledge and resources, and it's much of the core aspect of your work. So one of the questions I would probably ask you would be, how do you approach this goal, or is this your main goal, and what specific strategies or tools do you find most effective in helping others succeed in both business and life?
Yeah. Yes, that is my main goal. My main goal is how can I get other people wherever it is they want to go? Someone comes to me and they say, hey, I want to build this type of business, or I want to have 12 vacations a year, or whatever it is they want. If they're like, this is where I'm at and I don't like it and I want this other thing, I'm like, okay, I got you. Let's figure it out. So that's kind of where how the way I approach it is how can we figure it out? I'm always in puzzle solving mode. That's what I like to do. Like if you hand me the tangled up Christmas lights, I will put them in a little thing for you and give them back all rubber banded and straight. Like that's and I think it was a fun game, right? Like it totally tricked me into doing it. So that's kind of how I approach the problems. As I look at like, okay, what is it they really want? Where do they
Mhm.
want to get to? And then how can I help build that bridge? How can I help them create the path to get there? Because usually they see something and it seems so far away. They're like, I can't even figure out how to get through. It's just all foggy in the middle. And I'm like, all right, let's figure out a clear plan. And that's what I do. There's lots of little minutia stuff involved in that, but that's the big
Mhm.
picture of what I'm trying to do. And it doesn't matter if it's financial or if it's business coaching or whatever it is, it's all the same thing. Where do they want to be and how can I help them get there?
So when you're on your puzzle mission,
Yeah,
um
right.
and you have like elements that intertwine with their broader life goals that you kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
make them identify or connect with, or is it more of a strategy method in where it's more tailored to them or non-tailored? Because I know some people, when they're doing it, they try to keep their systems and strategies all the same for everybody, where sometimes you have to kind of tailor it to different people because of background and things they prefer and what they're trying to accomplish.
Right. So I always have some overarching concepts and
Okay.
then which I'll tell you. And then I also have certain things that I teach because I have found over time just through experience that most entrepreneurs are struggling in these areas.
Okay.
So when I put together, I'll talk about that first. When I put together my academy, all of the things that I teach in there are the same things that everyone was coming and asking me over and over and over again. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay, this is a common struggle. This is a common struggle. This is a common struggle. So I address those issues because I know that they're going to help the majority of the people in the group. Occasionally, I have someone in there who's like maybe a little more advanced or a little like they want to work on something else. Their goal isn't quite the same as everyone else in the group, but even then they still get value from the topics because they go, ah, I see how I can adjust and adapt that concept to what I'm doing. So
Oh,
I do have some standard stuff that I talk about. I am big on encouraging people to adapt it for their situation. I do not have like, this is the playbook and you must follow it word for word. And if it doesn't work, it's because you messed up and not the book, right? Like that is
right.
complete nonsense. Not everyone can do the same thing the same way. It doesn't work. We have all kinds of different styles. The overarching concepts, because I told you I would tell you, my plan basically, the first step is to simplify. So, whatever's going on, let's get to the root of it. What's the main goal? What's the fluff? What can we take out? What's really important? All of that part. So, we start out trying to simplify. After that, we can get to the systems piece. Now we can get to, okay, what am I actually doing? Where is am I putting my energy? What is
Mhm.
the structured system that I'm going to use? And then you go to the optimizing piece. So it's simplify, systemize, then optimize. Now we have a system. We go, I don't like that part. It's not working for me. We put this in my schedule, but I hate it. Whatever it is, this is my funnel, but people keep dropping out at this part. So, okay, let's optimize and fix whichever piece is not working. And then you go again. Then you're like, okay, can I make it more simple now? And sometimes it's good. You don't mess with that system. But other ones, now we go to the next thing and see how we can figure that out. Did I answer your question? Did it sort of help?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
good.
was asking that because of coaching philosophy, because a lot of coaches are very strict and want you to stay
Mhm.
in a focal area. And I know one of my professors in college used to always tell us that you have to destruct, review, and learn, and then restructure yourself as time goes on,
Yeah,
because it's through that process that you're actually growing and learning, because you in that process you have to cut away the little layers that don't suit you anymore. So that's why I asked that question, because my little motto is to learn, um unlearn, and then relearn.
yeah,
And that's
perfect model. And it's very similar. It's very similar to the model that I have as well, because in simplifying, okay, I'm learning what's going on, and then
Mhm.
unlearn, okay, I got to make a system. Yeah, I got to change something, redo something, and then
Yeah.
relearn is the optimizing piece. It's very, very aligned. One of the things I found when I was being coached early on,
Mhm.
before I really knew what I wanted to hire when I hire a coach. And yes, coaches need coaches, and I have coaches because how
Yeah.
else are you going to keep leveling up? But one of the things that frustrated me when I would read somebody's book or system or program or whatever is that it was a lot of do it this way, do it
Mhm.
exactly this way, and then you try to do it, but it's someone who's telling you that you got to wake up at 4 a.m. and then you have to meditate and then you have to journal and then you have to exercise and then you have to stand on your head and then you're not allowed to eat breakfast until this time and then you have to do that. And it's like all this stuff. And I'm like, I got toddlers. What is this wake up at 4 a.m.? They already came in my room 3 times last night. Like I need sleep. And it's somebody whose life did not match my life
Right.
trying to tell me how I needed to structure my life. And then when I would try to do it, I felt like the failure because I couldn't do what they were doing. And I didn't recognize that what they were doing is something that works for them, and what they were doing is based on what they're capable of doing. If
Mhm.
you have a business that's making you $10 million a year, you can afford a different level of support team than someone whose business is making you 10,000 or 50,000 a year. It's not
Right.
the same situation, right? It's not the same, you're not in the same world. So, for me to try to implement as a brand new entrepreneur, for me to try to implement the stuff that they were telling me to do And then they're like, and then it'll work and you'll be a millionaire. I'm like, do I need to get up at 4 a.m. to go to the bottom of my driveway to collect the check from the person who hands out the $1 million checks? Do they only circle through at 4 a.m.? Like, is that my only option? Because if that's the option, I will do it. But I'm pretty sure that's not what's happening. So,
Right.
right.
And
So
that's
that,
a
hmm
book by
hmm
Robin, and I was like I was very adamant on trying to implement it, and his strategy works, but I'm not gonna always get up at 5 a.m. And mainly because I trade Forex. So the market opens, I'm trading from 1 to 3 a.m. and then I'm falling asleep at 4 a.m. So, and you expect me to get up at 5
in
a.m.
an hour?
That doesn't
No.
work. Yeah.
No.
So I had to let that strategy go
Yeah.
and create a more relaxed strategy for me.
Yeah.
More so because I had to create a system where I was still getting enough hours of sleep during the day and then still being able to manage during the daytime
Right.
as well. And the strategies are some of the systems you can always apply to life, but you can't always apply the full method. And some people want you to apply the full method. And
Right.
some of them are single guys who don't have
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
accountabilities that they have to take
That's
care of.
right. Yes. Yeah. If you are young and single and childless and, you don't have a partner, you don't need to stick to anybody else's schedule, you just got your own thing, your own time, and you don't really have any other hobbies, you absolutely love working, and then maybe you go like on a vacation once in a while. Sure, you can work on a really strict, rigid schedule, but if that's not your life, then that schedule is not going to work for you. And what the part that frustrated me so much is that, like you, we try to implement this schedule and then we realize it doesn't work. And so much of the time we blame ourselves. We think we're the failure because we did it wrong, because I couldn't implement the schedule and clearly the schedule works. So I suck because I didn't do it. And really, that's not true. It's not that
Right.
you're the failure, it's that you just need to tweak the schedule. So I love what you did. You're like, okay, 1 hour of sleep is not going to do it. I'm up from 1 to 3 in the morning. Therefore, is 3 going to be your bedtime? And then you're going to sleep, whatever 8 hours from 3 is, and then get up at, somewhere midday. That would totally work. And then if that's your productive time, great. If that's like, then you go network and then you talk to people and then you do all of your desk work and admin and online stuff at night. Cool. There's nothing wrong with that schedule if it works for you in your life. There's nothing wrong with it. And you can work just as hard and be just as successful doing the thing on your own schedule that works versus trying to force yourself into a box that's just going to end up making you feel bad because you couldn't fit in that box.
Right. And I think the biggest part of it is really getting to know and understand yourself better
Mm.
and to understand how you function. There are
Yeah.
people who function amazing early morning, and there are
I'm one
people
of them.
who
I
function
do early morning.
amazing late at night.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like my husband, he can be up all night gaming or doing whatever and functions great, but he's not a morning person. He can't function in the morning. Whereas for me, I can function early morning, but I need to be in bed by a certain time.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me after 10 o'clock.
I'm right there with you. I will fade. If it's after 9, we probably shouldn't be doing anything other than watching TV because I cannot hang.
Yeah.
But I can do early if I need to do early. That's totally fine. And I actually have discovered that because I'm such an introvert, and I know it doesn't sound like it when I do speaking and when I do talking and when I, go to events and stuff, no one perceives me as an introvert, but truly I am. I recharge by having quiet time. So in the mornings, I might be up, but I don't schedule appointments. I
I
will have
do. I
that.
do the same.
Yeah, you do the
Um,
same?
yeah, I don't schedule anything before 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so my
Same?
first appointment of the day, it doesn't start until 11.
Yeah.
Everything before that time is blocked out because that's either meditation, journaling, or just reading something. where I can really just relax my mind or power my mind up for the day. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah. And that's when I do my workout because I know if I'm going to exercise, it's going to be in the morning. I will not
Mhm.
do it in the afternoon. Schedule wise, it would be so much better if I would do it in the afternoon. That would fit the rest of my day much better. But I have zero willpower for exercising in the afternoon, and I know I will not do it because I've tried it, and I just walk over there and get sad, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. And then, so it
If it's
has to
after
happen
2
in the
p.m.,
morning.
I know I won't work out.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to put it at a time that I will do it. So that's so it's just like you said, knowing yourself, knowing what you're gonna do, knowing what you are not gonna do, and
Mhm.
then building your plan, your strategy, your systems around what you're actually gonna accomplish.
Yeah, and I think even with those strategies and systems, I think that you also have to have like some principles and boundaries in place. And I think that would be a great segue to my next question. As a financial professional, what key principles or strategies do you emphasize when helping clients to achieve financial security? And how do basically how do the principles align with their goals or broader life goals?
It's the same exact strategy. And I ask this in different ways, but in
Okay.
both businesses to everybody. And essentially it's what's your goal? What do you want the future to be? What are you heading toward? It doesn't matter what I want. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter how much money I think they should have or which product, that I love. It matters what they want to do. So let's take retirement as an example. When
Mhm.
I say retirement, like that picture in people's minds is different for almost everybody. There's the old school picture of rocking chairs on the porch with lemonade and grandkids playing in the yard, right? There's people who just want to go out and play golf. There are people who want to volunteer. There are people who want to travel. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that are like, I love my business. I think I want to keep working until I can't because I'll be bored and I won't know what to do if I'm not working. And I'm like, cool. How can we make that make sense? Like, how can we make that work for you to where you still have your business, you're still running, but you have the option of an exit strategy if you need
Mhm.
it? Because our health doesn't always comply, right? We want to keep working, but sometimes we have a health issue that says, maybe you're going to take some time off. And you're like, oh, okay. And so, we work to how are you going to have money in place if you have a forced break due to
Mhm.
health things? If you have a shift in your health or your life that makes you go, yeah, maybe I'm done with the job, maybe I'm done with the business type of thing. So planning for all of that kind of stuff, planning to have multiple streams of income that could be switched on. So maybe someone says, I want to keep working. I'm like, cool. Do you want to keep working at the same level you're doing today? Do you want to be doing trading at from 1 to 3 a.m.? Do you want to be getting up early? Do you want to be staying up late? Or do you think you want to back it down? And then we say, okay, what does that look like? Once I have a clear picture of what they want to accomplish, then it's my job to go solve the puzzle and say, okay, now what product, what strategies, where do we put money, where do we, what stuff do we need to create your vision? And
Yeah.
that's how I approach it, and that's how I approach my coaching too. Where do you want to be? How are we going to get there?
Yeah, I totally get it. And I think the why is the essential part of it too. Because
Hmm.
when I first started trading, I was like I wanted an additional stream of income. But as I got better with trading and I perfected my strategy, I don't have to be up from 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning anymore. I know how to set a great order on the chart and it automatically activates the trade and I could be sleeping and
Nice.
the trade is taking place. So I
Yeah.
definitely get that. So for the retirement piece, for me, even for me, I think that it all goes back to your why of retirement or what's the end goal for retirement. And one of the things that I always do when I say that I have a goal, I ask myself 7 times, why do I want that goal? So I take a sheet of paper and I write the goal down. And then I ask myself, why do I want to accomplish this goal? Then I write that answer down. Then I ask why again, just to narrow it down to make sure that the goal is actually rooted on some type of foundation. And I find that many times when I do that with the goal, when things may get hard, I can always go back to those whys to encourage myself to keep going on that goal. So I definitely get that with having different views because my why 3 years ago is not my why today. And it's
Absolutely.
always changing.
Yeah. It is. It's always changing. It's always evolving. I love your strategy of being super clear on why did you say that? Are you sure? Like really questioning it. Because it does make sure you're achieving the right goal. You know, you're going towards something that you actually want. And a lot of times when I sit down with people, especially if they're young, they might not have thought of these questions before. And
Hmm.
this happens with both entrepreneurs and my financial clients. They may not be thinking about what do I want to have happen 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. That's not always on their radar. Sometimes they're just like, I'm trying to get through next week, yo. Like they don't they don't want to talk about all this big stuff. So then we back it up and we kind of figure it out and I ask questions and things like that. But most of us do when we really think about it. And I've got some, exercises that I run my coaching clients through to help
Hmm.
get to this piece. But when we think about it, we usually can figure out what it is we want our life to be like in the future. And it might not be super clear, but at least we can get started with,
Right.
okay, what do you want to make sure is going to happen? What makes sense for us to put in place now so that things are possible in the future? Because it's never like a one and done, we do this today, everything is solved. That's not realistic. So instead, it's what do we put in place today to give you options for the future, a few years down the line, what do we put next? And the same even in coaching, it's like, okay, what can you change first that's going to make it a big impact? All right, great. We start with that. All right, that's working. Cool. What do we want to work on next? And we do it in
Hmm.
pieces. It's not like change your entire business in one day type of a thing.
Right.
Yep.
Uh, so as a coach, and and a financial professional, I can see that many times you play the role as a connector.
Yeah.
So as a connector, how do you approach like networking or how do you build strong connections that are essential to personal and professional growth?
Yeah. When I approach networking, I'm doing a couple things there. I'm sorting and
Hmm.
I'm relationship building. And I am looking for potential clients, but that's not my main goal when I network. So sure, sometimes they pop up, right? Sometimes they pop up. My main goal is I'm looking for power partners. I'm looking for the people who I like them, they like me,
Hmm.
enough that we want to hang out. It's like, I want to see this person again. I want to talk to them again. You don't vibe with every single person. It
That's
doesn't
true.
mean you're not going to be nice. It doesn't mean you're not going to be respectful, but I'm not going to spend extra time with the people that I don't really click with. And the same thing for them. If they don't really click with me, are they ever going to send me an introduction? No, they're not, right? So I want to sort for those people that really click with me and I click with them and we like each other enough to understand what the other person does. And that's part of it. Over time, you're training them to understand exactly what you do and who might be a good fit. So when they find that person, they can send those introductions back. And when I find the person for them, I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to talk to so and so because I know I've been trained by hanging out with them over and over networking. I know exactly who they need and who's going to match them and who they're going to like and all that stuff. And I can just go, you should talk to each other. And then they can figure it out from there. I don't do I separate introductions and referrals. Referral has that pressury connotation of like you need to buy from this person, right?
Okay.
It's setting up a required sale or a pressure of a sale. I don't like to do that. Instead, I like to just do introductions. Hey, cool people, you might have some synergy, figure it out. And send them to have the conversation so that nobody feels like they're already stuck into buying or whatever. But I try to look for good setups for people. I try to do it intentionally and send who they say they want to find.
Oh. That's awesome. I love that that strategy. It reminds me of something that was said that your Rolodex equals your net worth. Um
Mm-hmm.
because of who all is actually in your Rolodex, and they're characterized as different types of people. And I think as an entrepreneur, having a good diverse Rolodex of people in your network can always help you overcome different things. And and the reality is, as an entrepreneur, you're going to face challenges. So, in your experience, what are some common challenges that entrepreneurs face, and how do they and how do you assist them in overcoming some of those common obstacles?
Yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs face the same challenges. I have six of them that I typically talk about. I'll tell them to you, but we won't have time to go deep, otherwise we'll be here all day, right?
Right.
The first one is priorities.
Okay.
I
Yes.
just actually had a chat with someone earlier today. They said, "Yeah, I really want to be better at my health," but health wasn't being their top priority. They said it was their top priority, but it wasn't because of scheduling, which is the second thing that people really struggle with is scheduling.
Hmm.
Their health related activity, which was like walking a couple times a day, was nowhere in their schedule. Well, if you say it's the priority, how is it not on the calendar? And that's tough for people. We have this disconnect so often that we're like, this is really what I want to do, like the goal, right? You write down the goal, this is what I want to do, and here's why, and I got it. And then forget to put the activity that's going to lead there in the schedule. It's not scheduled, it's not in the calendar. And all of us tend to operate by doing whatever's on our calendar. So we went to six meetings and we had, coffee or we had a chat or whatever, but we didn't do the one thing that was going to move us toward the goal. So that throws us off a lot. Another piece is accountability. So
Hmm.
that's the third thing. It's real hard to stay on track on your own. Hard, hard. Some people can do it. There's some people who are just super driven. Whatever it is, they're in it, they're doing it. Nobody can derail them. But for most people, you got to have a check-in. There have been research studies that show that just by telling someone what your goal is, you increase your chances by 65%
Hmm.
of to do it. And if you check in every week, you increase your chances of 95% by 95% of actually getting it done because all you had to do is go to someone and say, yeah, I did my thing, or no, I failed. I didn't do it this week. And just that act of knowing you have to tell another person if you did it or screwed up, you're going to do it. You won't want to go more than 2 weeks in a row. Like, for most people. So some form of accountability, even if it's not with other people, there's all kinds of accountability systems. People have buddies, people have groups, people have check-ins, people have write it down, people have rewards, people have consequences, and it's all like personality based, which thing will actually inspire you to go do the thing.
Yes, I
Um,
have a combination.
and that's good. That's good. A combination helps because now you've got backup.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I do rewards.
Hmm.
I write it down and have a tracker. And then I
Hmm.
also have two people that I call my mastermind group that I check
Yep.
in with. And we
Yep.
kind of keep each other on track.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
you got three things going for you, which is great because that makes you much more likely to do it because you've got all this stuff in place. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, oh. Because
So,
I have to score myself at the end of each quarter, and have 80% of that goal done or higher in order to receive some type of reward. So I
mhm,
have a little jar that I put different awards in that I'll
mhm.
get, and I'll pull it out. Maybe a gift card that I give to myself or something like that. And in order to go in that jar, I have to at least complete 80% of that goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I like
Yeah.
it. I like it. So you got a whole system worked out. A lot of entrepreneurs feel like putting this accountability system in place is extra work. And they're like, I ain't got time for extra work. I'm already doing my business. There's no way that I have time to do this extra. tracking, checking in with people, set up a reward system. Like they just don't want to do it. So that's one of the things that I build into my program.
Hmm.
It's already there. So if you're in the program, we're doing it and it's handled. You didn't have to do a bunch of extra stuff. You didn't have to figure it out. You didn't have to figure out how to set it up. We're doing it. We're figuring out the priorities. I'm teaching how to put it in the schedule, all of that thing. So number 4 is clarity.
Okay.
In the same way that you have your system for questioning your goal, most people don't do that. You're like leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of people because they say they want something, don't know why they want it. And if you don't know the why, you're not really going to be inspired to do it.
Right.
They also may not be clear on the plan for getting there. And that will derail us just as much as not knowing the why. Because we'll get one step down and then we're like, I don't know what to do next. And then because it's all hazy, it's like, I'm working on that in the background. Well, you're not really working on it at all. It's just I'm lost. I don't know what's going to happen next. So if you don't have a clear why, but also if you don't have a clear structure, a clear plan, or a clear system, or some clear steps, at least 4 or 5 down the road, like, okay, I know what the next 2 are, and
Right.
I'm going to get to there. I'm going to figure out the next. But for some people, some personalities, they're like, I don't care. I'm going to do step 1, and I'm going to figure out step 2 on the way.
Along the
Like,
way.
it's
Yeah.
fine. They don't care. They don't care. And that's cool. If you can operate like that, just go, just go. You move faster because even if you start failing, you'll still get information and move faster. But there's a lot of personality types who, if they don't have steps, they're like, not starting. I don't even know what's at. No, it's like people who say if the whole series of the show is not out, I'm not watching it yet. I don't want to get halfway and not know what happens, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not watching it till the whole season has to be out before I'm watching it because I'm watching it all in one weekend. And so that we do that to ourselves in other ways too. We say
Hmm.
if the path isn't clear, if I don't know where I'm going, I'm just not starting. And sometimes we do it subconsciously. It's like we don't even recognize that the reason we're not moving is because we don't have the clarity. We just like, yeah, I'm working on it, right? Like we don't really know what's going on there, but it's because we're not sure what the next step is, and so we don't want to do it.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that I run into with clients is they want to wait until they have that perfect plan or strategy to start.
Yes,
And I have to let them know there's no perfect plan.
there
You can
isn't.
perfect it along the way, but there is no perfect plan.
Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. And that leads us to the fifth thing, which is the fear.
Okay.
You can be afraid, we can be afraid of so many things. Oh my gosh. And we will just let them all get in the way. All of them. Not
That's
having the perfect plan is definitely high up there. I don't want to execute if I don't have the right plan
hmm
because we're afraid people will judge us. No one cares, but we think they do, right? We think if we do it wrong, people will be mad. We think if we do, people will think negatively of us. We think if we make a change, people will be like, "Oh, they're inconsistent. I'm not going to deal with them." Like
hmm
we come up with all these stories based on prior programming that we have, and it's time to update the app. And that's hard, right? To figure out how do I get past that previous programming, the stuff that happened to me before that's making me afraid to fail, to try stuff, to move forward without a plan, to figure things out. That fear piece gets really big.
Right.
And we will find all kinds of ways. If we don't have clarity and we're afraid of something, we do this thing called creative avoidance. And that is where, okay, I need to make, let's just example, let's say I need to make 5 follow-up phone calls today, right? I went to a networking event, I met some people, it's time for me to set my virtual coffees or whatever with them, or my in-person coffees, whatever you want to do. I got to do the follow-up, I need to call them. And then I realized that, oh, my phone is not charged, and I definitely don't want to run out of battery during a call. So let me plug in my phone. And while my phone is charging, oh my gosh, I forgot to put the laundry in the dryer and it smells. So I'm going to go turn the washer on again. And then while that's happening, I realize I still have to answer those other emails. So maybe I will just clear my inbox for right now. And then it's lunchtime. And so then, oh my gosh, I almost didn't put the clothes in the dryer again. So I put the clothes back in, put the clothes in the dryer. My phone is charged now, but while I'm on my phone and I'm eating lunch, I realize that I really need to pick something out for dinner. So I start making the list for dinner, and then next thing you know, oh right, right, okay, well, I gotta fold the laundry because it's dry, and I should go to the store and pick up the stuff that I need for dinner, so I'm gonna get that. And now I'm home, and now the kids are home, and now I gotta make food. And you know what? It's the end of the day. I should just follow up with those people tomorrow.
Yeah. Putting off the things, putting off the things that you should have done today for another day
Yes.
is a big one.
Yes. And it's just a cycle, and we have this way of logicking it. All of that stuff in my story was still productive. There's
Hmm.
nothing there that was just like useless. It wasn't scrolling social media. It wasn't just going out for no reason. Those were all productive, useful things. Were they productive, useful things toward the goal of creating relationships, expanding the network, expanding the business? No.
Right.
So it's that being really on track, knowing the priority, putting it in the schedule, getting super clear, getting it done, getting past the fear piece. And that last one, number 6, is the support. Being an entrepreneur sometimes is living on your own little lonely island.
Hmm.
And if everybody else in your world has a regular job, regular kind of hours, regular paycheck, all of that stuff, they don't understand what you're doing. And they may not understand what you're trying to create. They may not understand the business you're building. And it gets hard and it gets old really fast. And you're like, there's only so many times people can tell me to quit and get a real job before I'm going to lose my mind, right? Before I'm going to give up, before I feel like, why am I even doing this? Before I forget the change that I'm trying to make in the world. So we need a way to be supported, like your podcast, where other entrepreneurs are there. We're like, yep, we're going to share our story. We know that there's somebody else out there that's like me that's going through this, and I can do it too. We have to find those communities. Otherwise, you can do it, but man, it's going to be real hard, like way harder if you don't.
Definitely. Yeah, you're gonna have to be surrounded with affirmations. Um, I think that's the great question. Even with the levels of support, surrounding you, but personally, are there certain like things, experiences, or quotes or philosophies that basically keep you fueled, when you're going through the motions of getting things done?
Yeah. I have a cool quote that I took from a commercial one time that I use. So I will share that. And then I also have what I always like write on my emails when I sign books, like all of that kind of stuff. What I put in my signature, I have that piece that I kind of use. So the one I stole from a commercial is it was a commercial or like a series of commercials for the Olympics. And I want to say this was years ago, right? This is not a recent Olympics. This was a while ago. I know it was Summer Olympics because they would have is they would have video of the athletes lifting weights or stretching or like doing another lap or getting up really early, like all this stuff, right? All this stuff that's all the behind the scenes things that
Mhm.
people do. And I want to say I don't even remember. It might have been a Nike commercial, but I'm not sure. Um, and then you would see, so go from all that, and they're doing like the cupping, so you see like the kind of the bruising on their back, and you see them like massaging a shoulder, and it just looks so hard. All this behind the scenes. Then it goes to the part where they're on the podium, like when they finish the race or they finish their swim or whatever, and the time shows that they win, and then they're on the podium getting their medal, and it's showing all this like fancy and all the cameras flashing and all that stuff, and they're up there smiling and crying and all the things. And the phrase that they said was, "What you do in the dark puts you in the light."
Mm.
And all this time, that stinking commercial has stuck with me. And when I don't want to do a thing, I remember that and I'm like, yep, go do the thing. Go do the behind the scenes hard part because that's what's going to get you to that light front part that you want.
And it's weird because I've heard like a metaphor of that before,
Hmm.
but I never thought about it from that perspective. because my
Hmm.
grandmother used to always say, "What goes on in the dark always come to light," and she was using it as a perspective of when people do wrong
Do
behind the
something wrong,
scenes,
it's gonna come
it
out.
comes to
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about it from a perspective, a business perspective of when you're doing a lot of work in the background, then it will eventually come to light.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah,
will. It
makes
will.
me make me think of it from a different perspective, even though I've been hearing it for
And
so long.
maybe that marketer was doing the same thing. Maybe their grandma used to always say that and they thought about it the other way and they're like, hey, let's do this commercial. Whatever it was, I
Right.
felt there was brilliant marketing talking directly to me and I was like, yes, I'm gonna do that. So when I was working on my first book, I think that was right around when I saw that commercial and my kids were little and so I was getting up at 5 in the morning, which is not my preferred time to get up, to work on the book for an hour and a half before the kids got up. So then I could start the day and do all the kid things. And so that's the only way I was able to do it is to just get up super early. And so I just kept reminding myself because it was dark when I got up that it was going to work out. So the piece that I put personally on my emails, on my book signatures, all of that kind of stuff is I write, enjoy the journey.
Okay.
Feel like that's the piece that sometimes we forget. And it's maybe just as much of a reminder to myself as anybody else. I have had so many times that I lost the plot, I want to say. I would do things where I'm working nights and weekends and all kinds of extra stuff trying to build this super successful business so I can spend more
Mhm.
time with my family. Like I want to spend time with my partner, I want to spend time with my kids, I want to do all these things. I want to travel, whatever, working super hard so I can do that, but I'm not spending time with them in order to do the business that's going to let me spend more time with them. And I
Right.
was like, wait, that's a disconnect. And it only took me like 8 years to see that disconnect, right? It took a it took a long time, maybe longer. I don't really want to admit to how long I was, in that but I kept not spending time with them, not doing the fun things, delaying all the gratification so that I could eventually have it someday. And we all know someday is not a day of the week.
Right.
So for me, enjoy the journey is that reminder to like find ways to do the things now. If you want to take a trip, great. Set that as a goal and start saving up for it now, and you're going to go in, a year or two or whatever it's going to be. If you want to spend time with your family, schedule in spending time with your family and actually do it now before something happens. The kids grow up, everybody moves out, your spouse doesn't like you anymore because you never see them, like all that stuff, right? Like, do it now. Enjoy the journey part. Enjoy the problem solving. Enjoy the building. Enjoy even the hard, parts that you go through, because that's what's going to make the story later. That's what's going to make the success feel really successful later. So enjoy all the pieces. Don't just pass by and try to get to the next thing.
I love it. I think that's important because I know on my journey I would accomplish so many things, but I would never stop to celebrate it. I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay, this is great. But then I would, after I say this is great to myself, I never just sat with the moment of celebration to say, hey, I actually did this and completed this goal. So I think that was one of the biggest things that I had to learn. And I really didn't get into it until maybe 2 years ago, actually celebrating the milestones that I've accomplished. Because when I started thinking about all of the things that I've accomplished, I was like, for my age, I've accomplished a lot. And I didn't realize how much I had accomplished until I started looking at awards and things that I had basically. And it's weird because I frame them up, but I don't put them on the wall, and they're just sitting in this stack on this shelf in a nice little pretty frame, but they're not
Yep.
even on the wall. So I didn't even take the time to actually even put it on the wall as a point of celebration. I just
Yeah.
put it in the frame and just decided on the shelf. And so now I'm in that process of actually celebrating the moments. Um, and I think that's the key part for me of embracing celebration for things that are happening around. But I love your strategies, your methods, and how you're connecting people and helping them to basically achieve both business and personal goals.
Yeah.
And before we conclude, I would definitely like to open up or give you time to kind of talk about any upcoming projects, any incentives, and how anyone in the audience can reach you if they wanted to connect.
Thank you. Absolutely. I am working on more books. I wrote one, it got some really good critiques, and then I realized that I put too much in one book and it actually needed to be multiple books. So I am in the process of revising things now. I've got my next one that I'm working on, and it got peer reviewed last week. And so now I've got a whole bunch of stuff to rewrite and rework because I really want it to be a quality resource when it comes out. Watch for that. It'll be out one of these days. I do have a podcast. It's called The Real Deal with Camille. I have true stories of life as an entrepreneur on there. So it's a combination of episodes with guests, but then also me sharing tips, sharing experiences, things like that to help my audience move forward. So to really help
Okay.
them understand what's going on in their business right now and kind of change mindset or change activity, things like that to maybe get over something that's going on. So I have that out, and where episodes are, I don't know, somewhere in the 60s right now. So I think that should be going for a minute. We're well into it. It's don't feel like I'm on episode 3 and it's about to disappear. So it'll be here for a minute. And then I actually have a free video series if anyone is interested in grabbing that. It's Calm the Chaos in 15 Days.
Okay.
2 or 3 minutes a day, really short video from me gets delivered to your inbox, and I give some tips on how to get started on this whole process of what can I do right now to make my business and my life a little bit more streamlined, a little less chaotic, a little more calm. It is at camillediaz.com/15. So super easy, just camillediaz.com/15 if you want to grab that. It's completely free. And if you hate it, unsubscribe. Totally okay. Won't hurt my feelings. Won't hurt my feelings. Um, and then, yeah, if you want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram are probably my two most prominent platforms right now. I am just in/Camille Diaz on LinkedIn because I got on there so long ago. I actually got my name, which is awesome. And then on Instagram and Facebook, I'm at Cam Unfiltered. So that's where you find me on pretty much all the other platforms is at Cam Unfiltered.
Okay. Well, Camille, thank you for sharing your insights, your experiences, and the impact of work that you have been doing over time through coaching and finance and beyond. And to all of our wonderful listeners and subscribers, we want to thank you for joining another episode. Remember, wealth is not just money, it's about purpose, values, and making a positive impact. Talk to you later.